Hi, thank you for joining me for today's process video, and today I'm playing with Discover and Create from Vicki Boutin once again and documenting 2 photos of my kids back in 2013 when we had a lounge picnic. It was a little phase that they went through where they really enjoyed coming home from school and having their picnic in the lounge in front of the telly. You can see they're engrossed. I can't remember what they were watching now, but they were obviously very happy. So I've pulled out the blues from this collection because the picnic rug I've put down, it's one of my quilts, has greys, blues and reds. So I wanted to bring those colours out of the photos. So I predominantly pulled out the blues. There were a couple of black and whites as well, that beautiful newspaper print and that black and white stripe. And this is based on a sketch by Janessa Franco. I'll pop it in the top left hand corner there. It's one she did for paper issues, and I saw it on Instagram and fell in love with it straight away. I think anything with a vertical design and I'm there. So I've just pulled out 5 different papers, I think it was in the end, and created these strips. And I'm just focusing in on the shape that I'm creating at the bottom of these strips here, because I'm going to snip the tops off once I'm happy with the shape, and it does take a little while. So that piece on the right hand side is one of the branding strips, and I try bringing in another branding strip, but it's too turquoisey in the wrong way. It's like a seafoam colour, so it doesn't really match with the other ones. So just stick with these ones and pull in a washi tape from 49 Market. This is the Stitches washi tape that they created a year or so ago. It was a box of different stitching washi tapes and I love them. So just gluing these together as a block, well, trying to, not very successfully, just adding glue to the edges and then overlapping them so that I can move it around, stick it down and then trim off the tops afterwards. I want to make sure that this is central. Once again, I've managed to lose my T-square ruler on my desk, so had to use my glass mat to try and get it as central as I possibly could. So just messing around and checking that I'm happy. Adding this washi tape now. And that kind of holds those bits together as well. I probably will have to go in, I haven't done it yet, and add some glue to the bottom of that just to keep it on the layout, because the very nature of washi tape, it's not designed to last forever on the adhesive. So just add some of your own wet adhesive or tape runner if you're using it. So here I am just creating that shape. I knew I wanted it to be about that size, and you can see in the sketch that there's a tag up on the left hand side, so I'm not too concerned about those pieces on the left because I know they're going to be covered, but the bits on the right I want to have a nice staggered look, so I'm just trimming those down to get that. It is a bit of a faff, and then I see that blue floral piece doesn't seem very straight, so I'm pulling it up there, and then I decide I want them to be a bit shorter, so I do get there in the end, but I did make a meal out of this today. I'm not quite sure why. So again, I decide that this one isn't quite straight, so just adding some glue back on to stick that together. And then I decide to just go for it and stick everything down to the base page. I was just getting frustrated, I think, trying to get everything together. The glue wasn't holding it very well, so I just thought, oh, bother it, just go for it now. So once again, messing about, just trimming down those ends. And you can see, once again, I pulled that left portion out by mistake, so here I am just gluing it down. So I start with that longest piece and then just glue the other bits to either side. And you can see I've only got 2 strips on the left hand side and 3 on the right. So it's slightly lopsided, but I will fix that once I've added the photos. So just bringing the 2 photos in to check that I'm happy with the width of the strips that I've got behind them. And here's that tag that I'm going to use. It's from the Papery pack. And I like the way it goes right the way down underneath the photos. That said, I think I cover everything. And now I'm just going to mat those photos onto some white cardstock just to get a very thin border. It provides a bit of separation because they're 2 separate photos. Sometimes if you layer them on top of one another and then add mats behind, it almost merges them into one, and it can look a bit odd, like I've got 2 children, two sets of identical twins. So just trimming those off, and then I shall add those onto a mat. And again, I'm going to stick to that blue. So I pull the piece of, it's like a blue wood grain. There it is. And I'm just going to stick those onto there, ever so slightly offset against one another. Again, just to provide a differential between the 2 photos. And there they are. So trimming that down, and then I can start decorating, my favourite part. It's nice once you've got the base of the layout done and you know that you can just add ephemera bits and pieces and build up your clusters. So coming in, I really wanted to bring some red in because of the red in the quilt. So I'm coming in with some tickets. Again, these are shown in that sketch. So adding those tickets at the top there, layering over that tag. And then another little one at the bottom right hand side. And I use one of the paler red ones there. So that's the tickets done, and now I wanted to focus in on those coffee stains that Janessa has on the sketch. So bringing one of the pink ones in from the washi stickers in the papery pack, and then a blue one to the bottom left. And that's about as far as I follow the sketch. I really do start going off-piste now. But I've got the main shape, but I do bring my clusters out to the left and right at the bottom of the photo a lot more than Janessa. She's much more restrained in her sketch, but I just couldn't resist keep adding as I found things that I wanted to add. So just peeling up that tag. I'm happy with the placement, so I didn't want to move that. And then I'm going to stick these tickets to the photo mat, and then I can check that I'm happy with the positioning of that before gluing that down. Adding that ticket to the bottom as well, because I know that's going to go there. And just seeing what else I've got down here. And I find this little offcut of paper from one of the strips that are behind the photo. And I decided to add it to the bottom left-hand side, and that really provides balance. Like I said, it was a bit lopsided, slightly to the right before I added that, but that just sort of made it more central. So now adding one of these little, it says date on it, but I'm just using it as a label at the top there just to provide another layer. And then I find this beautiful sunflower. Well, it's like a daisy, isn't it? Or a white sunflower, or marigold maybe. Not very good with flowers. So I'm just going to tuck that underneath the photos at the bottom. I think about using that thistle head or poppy head, but it doesn't stay there in the end. But I do add that tab at the top, and that's going to hold my date. And then I find this lovely long tag, and I think about putting it at the top, but I don't really want to change the shape that I've got going on there, so I end up popping it out the left hand side just there, and I really like the shape that that provides. But obviously I can't just leave that on its own, so I will add a few more bits to it. So I'm just going to go around and glue some of these bits down, because I do get carried away adding everything and not gluing down, and then it's a nightmare to try and remember what's been stuck down and what hasn't. So just gluing these bits, adding a bit more to that layer just to keep it down, and then adding these tickets and tabs and tags and all the bits that I've got at the top there. So you can see I've covered that thing that says date and just use that as a label. So now coming in with the 6x12 sticker sheet, and I find this label that says "So Sweet." It's like a black arrow with gold foiling around the edge. So I add that onto that tag that I've got out of the left hand side. And then I find this one that says "Today We," and I want to have my title as "Today We Had a Lounge Picnic." So I had a look at the thickers that come in this Discover and Create collection, but they blended too well into the background because I've got all those paper strips. So I'm going in with my trusty Florence alphabet stickers in black and spelling out "Lounge Picnic." When I get to the word picnic, I realise that I don't have the black letters that I need, so I'm just using a Sharpie pen over the blueberry ones, because I've got tons of sheets of blueberry because that's my favoured colour. So you'll see in a minute, I just come in with the blueberry and colour that in with a Sharpie. So just looking for the letters that I need, and there we go. So it doesn't take a second, it dries really quickly, and you can't even, I'm just looking at the layout now, you can't even see which ones are the ones that were coloured in. So if you've got lots of multicoloured stickers and you don't want them to be multicoloured, just colour them with a Sharpie. So almost there. Just realised that I need an N, and I'm trying to use the sheets that are most used up first where I can. So just taking the N from that sheet. Going back to the eye that I coloured in and the sea. And then I pull in some little tile alphabets that I've got from Adorn It. These are really old, lost their stickies, so I do have to glue them down with my wet glue and just write the words had a. And that completes my title. These were fabulous. I think they were only about £1 a sheet, and gosh, they were really good. So now I find these little toadstools. They've got the red in that I wanted to bring into the layout a little bit more, and I think picnics are normally in the woods, so I'll add those to the page. I try them on the right, but they don't work the way that they lean. They went over the photo a little bit too much, so I've added them to that left-hand cluster, so I know I need to bring more into this right-hand side. So I find another little toadstool to balance that out, and then I come in with the printables from Hey Little Magpie that have been designed to go with Discover and Create. So I start off with one of the squares, and I'm going to tuck that underneath the bottom right hand corner of the layout of the photos. So just trimming that off and tucking that down there. And then I'm going to punch out one of the 1-inch circles, and it just says this, and I'll add an epoxy sticker to that to make it into an epoxy flare. I find one of our flare badges. It's just a green butterfly and it says adorable. It's one of the canvas flares. So adding that underneath that daisy there. Whatever flower we decided that it was. And starting to glue things down. You can see I've also brought in a red fabric flower from Hey Little Magpie. These are great just to add little touches of things about your page, and especially when you're trying to bring in a specific colour, it works really well. So just gluing that into place, and then I'm going to come in with some more of the labels from that cut apart, the printables from Hey Little Magpie shortly, and bring those into that right hand side just to build out that cluster a little bit more. So I start off with a long blue one, and then I add the green one after that, because there is some of that green in the floral paper that I've added as the main central strip. So just getting those glued down, and that builds out that right hand side of the photos really nicely. I'm trying to keep this nice and central and balanced on either side. So that's why I decided that I needed this second label, just to build that out a bit, because that cluster of toadstools on the left is really quite big. There we go. So you can see this is where I'm deviating from the sketch quite a bit, but it was a fabulous sketch. So just adding bits and pieces. I found that little bug and I decided that would look cute at the bottom there. So just adding that, and then my date with the roller date stamp, and I'm just underlining the date on that big pink tag because it's got a space to put the date. There's a little cream flower from Hey Little Magpie, again the same as the red, and then I bring in one of our resin dots again from the Bits and Pieces collection from Hey Little Magpie. It's navy and wood grain, and it just works really nicely there on that right hand side. I do a lot of faffing here. I've also got that red gingham heart, and that was causing me some trouble deciding where to put it, but in the end I put it underneath the title, and it's bringing that red down the page, which works really nicely. So now adding some twine. This is just some linen thread to the top, and I just tie it in a bow, and then a little piece to that left hand tag, and I just leave that hanging down. You'll see I add a dot of glue and then just use my circle punch to weigh it down so that it glues into place. I'm just struggling to find the end of the thread there. So there we go, that's that tied through. We're very nearly there now. I am going to add some splatters. There are some splatters on the sketch, and I don't know, I just really like them at the moment, so most of my layouts have them. So there's that hole punch just to weigh that down. So now coming in with my black soot from Tim Holtz and just adding a couple of splatters. I was thinking I was going to use my paintbrush, but I managed fine with the tube, the nozzle tube. So just adding those in 3 places around the page. And that's it. Thank you so much for joining me. I really hope you've enjoyed this. I shall see you again next time. Bye.